Good evening. My name's Peter Smith, and I'm going to be moderating the Core Group and Coeur d'Alene TV City Council Forum for the City of Coeur d'Alene this evening. I am joined with Michael Pereira to my right, your left, and Justin Shoresman to my left, your right. Justin will be asking the first question, and then Michael will be following up. Justin?
Councilman Ettinger, why are you more qualified than your opponent?
Why am I more qualified?
More qualified than your opponent.
Well, I've lived in Coeur d'Alene for 60 years. I've been on the city council for a number of years. I know our community, and I know most of the people, and know the issues that Coeur d'Alene has. And I have the experience, like I said, I have the knowledge and the dedication to serve.
Mr. Schindelbeck, why are you more qualified than your opponent?
Well, having come from larger cities than Coeur d'Alene, I can see the problems that we're facing on the horizon, and I know what we can do to stop them. I don't want to change CDA. I want to prevent it from turning into a Spokane or Oakland. And I think I'm more qualified for the same reason that you guys hired, that the city of Coeur d'Alene hired Chief White out of a bigger city, because he was more experienced with large city problems. And coming here, he was able to implement changes that somebody who was insulated in Coeur d'Alene wasn't able to see. In fact, that's what happened with the last few chiefs. So I have a lot more experience having come from bigger cities, and I want to keep Coeur d'Alene the same, and I want to prevent those problems from coming down the pipe that I can see on the horizon.
Mr. Schindelbeck, what change will you make in the city?
What change?
What change will you make in the city?
In general, is there a specific?
Just in general, what changes would you make to the city?
Okay. Well, one of the first things I'd like to do is see council gain control of the urban renewal district. I'd like to see it gain control and shrink the district and eventually phase it out fairly quickly. And I'd like to see that money go back to the taxing districts and go back to the general fund, where we can use that to hire more officers without increasing taxes, where we can take care of our roads, where we can make sure that we don't have to increase taxes to provide these services. The money's there, but it's being skimmed off the top. In fact, millions of dollars are being skimmed off the top by the urban renewal district every single year. In fact, everybody pays more taxes because of the urban renewal district. According to the Mike McDowell, our county assessor, we pay 14% more taxes within the city and 8% more taxes within the county. So just by getting rid of the urban renewal development district, we can save money, and we wouldn't have to raise taxes for a while, because there's about a $5.8 million budget this year for the urban renewal district. The majority of that is going to go back into the general fund. So that's one of the first things I'd like to see done.
And Councilman Ettinger, same question to you.
Well, I'll tell you, urban renewal has done a lot of good things. They changed their name. I'm not sure if that was a good thing or not, but like I say, they've done a lot of good things here in Coeur d'Alene. The building that we sit in, the Kroc Center, there's good people that serve on that board, like Dave Patzer and Brad Jordan and Denny Davis. Good people that serve on that board, and I think that urban renewal has done some good things, but they've also, I have disagreements with them on other things that they've done. But like I say, there's good people that have good, the city of Coeur d'Alene at heart.
Mr. Schindelbeck, you stated that your opponent is a registered Democrat recently. Mr. Ettinger states that he is a registered Republican. Why does this matter either way?
Well, it doesn't. And if you notice on my card, I didn't put what political party that I was a member of. I could be a Democrat too. That was a mistake. It was I did not proofread it correctly before it went out. Only a couple hundred went out. I think the bigger question is why Mr. Ettinger's so offended that I called him a Democrat. Is them being a Democrat that bad?
Mr. Ettinger, should voters be concerned about party affiliation?
I don't think that city elections, hospital boards, school districts should be partisan elections. I think, and city councils the same way. I think that wasn't done this way years ago, and it wasn't stated by our legislature years ago that these elections in school districts, highway districts, city councils should be partisan. I think that, like I say, I think the city councils and those other areas should be non-partisan.
Mr. Schindelbeck, I'm going to follow up a little bit. In the newspaper article that came out today, you said that, and the words, in your flyer that said, and a registered Democrat, that was a proofreading error. I mean, what should it have said? And a registered Republican, or was that just going to be dropped entirely?
It's dropped entirely.
It's been dropped entirely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my understanding that he registered as a Republican to vote in the 2014 election in the Republican primary. So he switched from unaffiliated to Republican, so Democrat was false either way, and it was a proofreading error.
And at this point, being a Democrat or Republican running for this office makes no difference, correct?
Well, I think, because it's a nonpartisan, there's not going to be a R or D. I think it does it does reflect your values, what party you're a member of. So, I mean, it's going to reflect on what we vote on.
Mr. Ettinger, you are a registered Republican, is that correct?
Yep.
Councilman Ettinger, you have served on the City Council continuously since 1980. How do you respond to voters who ask, why isn't it time for a change?
Well, like I stated before, I have the experience, the dedication, I have the knowledge of the city of Coeur d'Alene, and I think that, my opponent is a newcomer to Coeur d'Alene, and I think that, there's a lot. City of Coeur d'Alene is moving in the right direction right now. We have a very excellent mayor that is moving the city forward. And I think that I want to work with him and do the best for the city of Coeur d'Alene. And like I say, it takes a while to learn what goes on in the city, the employees, and the citizens of Coeur d'Alene. And I have that knowledge and I have that experience.
I'd like to respond to that newcomer statement. I'm invested in the city of Coeur d'Alene. I have a business here. I've created 4 year-round good-paying jobs here. My entire family's here. My parents are here. My brother and sister-in-law are here. My wife's here. So, regardless of the fact that I've been here for 2.5 years, I'm invested in the city of Coeur d'Alene, and I want to see it succeed. This is where I plan on raising my kids, if we're lucky enough to have them.
Mr. Schindelbeck, I have a follow-up to that. What do you think that you bring as a newcomer that experience that Mr. Ettinger has is different? What do you bring to the table for voters that's new?
Well, as I said before, I have experience living in larger cities, and I can see some of these problems coming down the pipe that he can't recognize because he's been insulated in this city for, the last 60 years or longer. So, one of the things is we have an unsustainable pay system set up for our public employees. 3% every single year for COLA, plus 2% every single year for merit pay. That's 5% every single year. That eats up all the growth. That's not sustainable. You project that out 5 to 10 years, and what's going to happen? We're going to have to start cutting officers because we can't afford it. The public pensions are going to be out of control. We're going to turn into Oakland. We're going to go bankrupt. These are things that we have to look at 5 to 10 years down the road. And when you are here for 45 years and developing relationships, there becomes a good old boy network that you don't want to, you're friends with everybody, so you don't want to make somebody mad. Hey, I know Joe, I went to his kid's baseball game, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this project for him or say yes. That type of thing won't fly with me. I don't have those entrenched relationships for the last 45 years.
Councilman Ettinger, how do you respond to the assertion that you're part of the good old boys club?
What's that? Go ahead.
How do you respond to the assertion that you're part of a good old boys club, so you can't make the changes that maybe the city needs?
Well, I'm not part of the good old boys club. I think that the last 2 years ago when the elections were up, I think that went to show that I wasn't part of the good old boys club. And I think that what my opponent stated about the employees and being friends of the employees, yes, I'm friends of the employees because they're good people, good hard-working people, our firemen, policemen, and our city employees. They're good hard-working people, and they have earned through the years their salaries. We've had 20, 25-year employees. In fact, there's going to be a 25-year employee that is going to be retiring in a couple weeks. But our employees are good employees. They've earned what they get, and they've worked hard for it.
Mr. Schindelbeck, in response to that, you talked about the pay increases of 5% per year as being a problem for the city. The flip side of that is, how do we keep quality employees and compete with neighboring communities who are willing to pay them more?
Well, I think, are you talking specifically about public safety, or is this public employees in
Generally.
general? Okay. Well, I think merit has a lot to do with it. Merit pay just for fogging a mirror, I don't think is the definition of merit. I think in any business, you have to do an annual review of what an employee has accomplished and over the prior years, and then base your pay increases based on that. There shouldn't be a flat raise every single year. I own a business. I don't get my pay every single year. I have to do more to make more, and I think that's what we have to do with our employees. When we're eating up every single dollar of growth with raises, that's unsustainable. And what's going to happen is we're going to have to increase taxes to fund necessary services like police and fire, and that's unacceptable. I'm not saying that public employee. I agree we have a lot of great public employees. That's great, but I think Mr. Ettinger's forgotten who he works for. He works for the taxpayers. The hardworking taxpayers, not only the public employees, but everybody in the city. And I think they need to be taken into account too. And that's what I promise to do, is make sure that I'm going to be an advocate for the taxpayers of Coeur d'Alene when I'm elected to serve you.
Councilman Ettinger, the assertion is that if you're a city employee and you fog a mirror, you're going to get a merit pay increase. And I know that you've been endorsed by the city employees as a candidate for this position. I'm wondering, is there truth to that?
No. The thing is, like I said, the firemen, policemen, our city employees, there's steps that they take and have to take to get to their pay grade. And like I say, a lot of those people have always taken the steps. They are evaluated at the end of the year, and there have been employees that haven't got an increase. But yes, there have been employees that have got a good increase. But like I say, these are 15, 20, 25-year employees that have worked their way up to these positions.
New topic. Mr. Schindelbeck, what do you believe the role is for certain urban development companies in the area, for instance, Ignite CDA? What do you think their role is in this area? Well,
by definition, their role is to improve blighted areas. They shouldn't be involved with entertainment or other things like that. They shouldn't be handing out grants willy-nilly without public vote. I think that's it's un-American and bad public policy to have taxation without representation. And at this point, the voters have absolutely no say in what the Urban Renewal District does. No say. They own 25 properties that are completely off the property tax rolls. They have 8 mortgages. We have no idea how much these mortgages are. We have no idea what kind of debt they carry. They take about $950,000 a year out of NIC's budget, and that's going to be reflected in increased tuition. So, the Urban Renewal District, in my opinion, should go the way of California's redevelopment agency. It should just go away. We can have economic development in this town by getting out of the way without using tax dollars for projects that really don't have anything to do with economic development. Because when you take money from taxpayers and then give it to certain people, what you're doing now is the government's picking the winners or the losers. And in this case, it's not even the government. It's some private entity that's taking our tax dollars and picking winners. The government should never compete with private business. And when we have low-income housing down on the river, they directly compete with landlords in town that have units to rent. That's not right.
Councilman Ettinger, what is your opinion on Ignite CDA? Should it be abolished?
Would you repeat? I didn't hear you.
Do you believe Ignite CDA should be abolished?
Do I what?
Do you believe the urban development group Ignite CDA should be abolished?
Well, like I said before, I think that Ignite or urban renewal or LCDC, whatever you want to call them, that they've done good things, and there's some things that I disagree with. But I think the people that serve on that board, like I said, you've got Brad Jordan, you've got Denny Davis, you've got Dave Patzer, you've got Mick Arman, that are good, sensible people that have, I think, personally, I think they have the best interests of the city of Coeur d'Alene at heart. I think that I just feel that, like I say, I've agreed with them on certain issues. There's certain issues that I've disagreed, like in the 4th Street in the Midtown area. I disagree with some of their issues there.
Follow up on that. Mr. Schindelbeck stated that there's taxation without representation. What do you believe is the proper role of city council in supervising these urban development companies?
Well, would you repeat that?
Mr. Schindelbeck has stated that certain urban development companies have taxation without representation. Do you believe city council should play a role in supervising these urban development companies?
Well, I think one good issue that was brought up within the last few months, an appointment, was the appointment of our mayor to the LCDC, or whatever you want to call them, because our mayor has an interest in that. I think our mayor has made, well, there's been some headlines, I mean, in the newspaper for a little bit, but I think that the city of Coeur d'Alene and the council are privileged to have the mayor on urban renewal, because he will bring issues forward to the city council that I think that would be concerning to us and the taxpayers.
I have a follow-up for you, Mr. Schindelbeck, probably where you're going to go anyway, but you believe that urban renewal, Ignite CDA, should be abolished in its entirety. Is that correct?
Well, I think the first step is going to be gain council oversight of it, appoint a new board that's directly responsible to council, meaning the taxpayers, and then, shrink the district, pay off the debts, and eventually, I'd like to see it go. And we might not even have to do that because of the legislative session coming up where they're going to be discussing this. And to go back to what Mr. Edinger said, we should feel privileged that we have the mayor on the board. I mean, I'm glad that the mayor's on the board, but the taxpayers shouldn't feel privileged that the URD is taking over $6 million of our property tax dollars from that district, which increases taxes for everybody, and they're spending this money on projects that we have no say in. Just look at McEwen Park. Regardless of whether you liked it or not, there was no public vote on this. And Mr. Edinger, when he was defending the URD, he named a bunch of people, all people he has personal relationships with. This is the type of thing that is what I like to call the good old boys club. I mean, they have the best interests at heart. Do they really? That's suspect at best, especially when Mick Arman doesn't even live in Coeur d'Alene. He lives in Hayden. How can we have somebody who doesn't live in Coeur d'Alene on the board making decisions of where to spend Coeur d'Alene's tax dollars?
And a follow-up to that, what about a project like Riverstone or McEwen? Some say that those projects wouldn't have happened but for urban renewal dollars.
Well, nothing that the urban renewal does cannot be done with a bond and a vote.
Councilman Egner, what do you think about a vote on the spending of urban renewal money to do these projects?
I was all in favor of a public vote, that anybody that has lived here any length of time should know that I was all in favor of a public vote on McEwen, as Councilman Gookin was and as Councilman Adams were. We fought for a public vote on McEwen. It didn't happen. We've got McEwen. We're going to have to live with it unless somebody wants to go out and start tearing it apart, which I think would be foolish. But like I say, I was all in favor of a public vote on McEwen. There should have been a public vote on McEwen, because the money that was spent on McEwen was, taxpayers' money. And that's why I fought hard to have the vote on McEwen. The thing about having, certain people on urban renewal, the names that I mentioned, the people that I mentioned, like I said, they're good people. They've lived here a long time. And if you live here at any length of time, you're going to know these people. I mean, hell, I know a lot of people here in Coeur d'Alene. And, but like I say, those people are good people.
Mr. Schindelbeck, Ignite CDA's attorney gave an opinion that it could use its funds to help pay rent and help develop a tech industry in Coeur d'Alene. Do you believe they should be allowed to do that?
Well, that's one lawyer's opinion. You know how, you get 10 lawyers in a room, you're going to get 10 different opinions. Based on what I know about urban renewal district, the definition of it is to improve a blighted area. I don't see how subsidizing another business falls into that. Again, we're picking winners and losers with our tax dollars in that situation. I don't think the government should ever compete with private business. That's flat out wrong. So I'd have to say no.
And Councilman Ettinger, same question to you.
Well, I think that two of our elected representatives from this area, Kathy Sims and Mary Sousa, I think it was this week or last week, they were having discussions down in Boise on urban renewal. I haven't heard yet what they've come back with, but like I say, I think that what we should look at, and I think urban renewal will look at it. I think the city council will look at it, of some of the discussions that they had down there. As soon as we're made aware of their discussions that they had down in Boise, I think it was this past week or last week that they were meeting down there with other legislators, and they will come back.
Councilman Edgar, sorry to interrupt, but should the money be used for that purpose, to pay rent for a tech industry in Coeur d'Alene?
No,
Okay.
It shouldn't be used to pay rent. No, and I think that's one of the things that our mayor was upset and stated that that shouldn't be used.
This is a question for Mr. Schindelbeck. Certain groups, for instance, the Innovation Collective, have made a pretty good headway in the last year or so in the Coeur d'Alene area in the tech industry. What do you believe is the role of city government in developing a technology industry in Coeur d'Alene?
Getting out of the way. I think, waiving impact fees, waiving, developer fees, freezing property taxes for 10 years, waiving property taxes for a year. These are permit streamlining, having a single point of contact down at City Hall where somebody goes in and talks to one person and gets all their permits organized through that one person. These types of things are what the government can do to help bring economic development, like innovation, the Innovation Collective, make CDA more attractive to those types of companies to expand and grow here. We just need to get out of the way. We don't have to subsidize them with tax dollars.
But isn't freezing of property taxes for one particular property owner while not freezing for others a subsidy for that particular person?
Not necessarily. I mean, especially when you compare it to the urban renewal district. We have a district now that's carved out, and all the incremental taxes since that was formed are going to them. We have no idea what they spend it on. So if we have an area where we want development, and in that area we say, okay, we want some more, we want tech businesses in here. So if you're a tech business, we're going to freeze property taxes for you for 10 years. We're not taking that property tax money. That they're not paying it. We're not taking it and giving it to somebody else. We're just freezing it at that level, so we're not going to penalize them for developing that area. If somebody buys a property for $350,000, say for example like the State Hotel that was recently for sale. Let's say that went for $350,000, and some private business owner bought that, put $150,000 into it to improve that property, added a couple rooms, marketed it, and now the next year the assessor is going to come around and that person's going to be penalized for improving that property because they're going to be assessed at a higher rate. The levy rate's like 1.43%. Well, if we froze that at the $350,000 that they entered that on for, say, 10 years, you're going to have a lot of money in that gentleman's pocket or woman's pocket to invest in employees, to invest in marketing, to generate sales tax revenue for the area. So that's how we do it without taking tax dollars and picking winners and losers. We can carve out an area that we want business to go to, and instead of taking tax dollars, we freeze it.
Councilman Ettinger, same question to you. What do you believe is the role of city government in developing a technology industry in Coeur d'Alene?
Well, I think that it's a good idea. I think we should, but I don't think we should be paying the rent. I think for locations. I think that technology is one of the things that is in the forefront and coming forward to the city of Coeur d'Alene. I think that as my opponent has stated about the urban renewal, and I think Councilman Gookin has stated in the past that we should be looking at the city of Coeur d'Alene should be looking at having more say with urban renewal. And I don't disagree with that. But like I say, let's have our two representatives that went down to Boise come back, report to us what their findings were down there from other cities across the state. Come back and tell us what their findings were, and that we can go from there.
We have the power as a city. We have the power to dissolve the URD, so we don't have to wait for the legislative to take action. We can take action when we have a council that agrees that's the way to go.
I want to hear Councilman Ettinger's opinion on the idea of freezing property taxes for certain businesses or areas where business may locate. Are you in favor of that idea?
Of freezing?
Freezing property taxes where, as Mr. Schindelbeck suggested?
Well, to be very honest with you, I haven't thought a hell of a lot about it.
That's an honest answer.
That's an honest answer.
Mr. Schindelbeck, what is your vision for East Sherman, and how would you propose to accomplish that?
Vision for East Sherman? Well, one of the things I don't want to see is taking away parking to add bike lanes. I think that's a mistake. I think that's what they're proposing right now. I don't want to see that. I'd like to see it developed. And I think the idea of taking that area and freezing property taxes on businesses and homes in that area where we want to see, it's a blighted area. That's really the only blighted area in town. We want to make sure that that is developed. Instead of taking property taxes, basically confiscating them, and then picking winners and losers, we allow private business to do that. They come in, they make the investment, and all we do is freeze property taxes. We waive impact fees. We waive developer fees. I'd like to see a single point of contact down at City Halls to make the transition from the purchase to opening that business smooth, because you don't want to have to deal with 8 different departments to get all these different permits. So I think, again, getting out of the way and reducing the monetary cost, reducing the barrier to entry in those areas is going to be key.
Councilman Ettinger, if you could just respond to that question really quickly, and then we'll move to closing statements.
Well, a few years ago, the city of Coeur d'Alene went out and did a survey on East Sherman, contacted the property owners and the business owners out in that area, and it came back that property owners and business owners weren't too excited about having anything done out there. We did go out and we did do some improvements, but they weren't too excited about having anything done because of the cost of having it done. I think that a couple weekends ago, that they had the activity out there on East Sherman, I think that was good. I think that was good, and I think the business owners out there appreciated that.
Thank you. And we're now moving to closing statements. I'd like to apologize to the candidates for not offering you the opportunity to do an opening statement. I completely forgot it. So, Mr. Schindelbeck, will you please do a closing statement for us?
Sure.
You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate Mr. Ettinger's service, his long 45 years of service to the community. I think that's admirable. It's time for new energy and fresh ideas. My opponent represents the past of Coeur d'Alene. I represent the future. We have 21st century problems coming down the pipe, and we need 21st century solutions. And I also promise to represent all of the hardworking taxpayers in Coeur d'Alene, not just the public employees, which are important as well, but we can't forget who we work for, who elects us to office and who pays the bills, and that's the taxpayers of Coeur d'Alene. I pledge to do everything in my power to prevent tax increases and to reduce the burden of government. I would appreciate your support and your vote this November 3rd. Thank you very much.
Councilman Ettinger.
Yes, I'm Ron Ettinger. It has been an immense privilege to serve as your council member the last several years. I am again running for council seat number 1. I've been a resident of Coeur d'Alene for 60 years. My wife Nancy was born and raised here. We have raised our 3 daughters here. They are now raising their families here. My brothers' families live here also. So you see, I have deep roots here. I care about the city. I want the city to be a safe, secure, and vibrant place to live, a place where future generations want to call home. I will always listen to your concerns and try to make the most responsible decisions for our community. I believe we as a government body should balance the necessary needs but use caution with taxpayers' dollars. I'm proud to belong to the crowd that's called senior citizens. I won't use that.
Councilman Ettinger, you have about 5 seconds.
Okay, I won't use your youth, sir, against you.
Paraphrasing Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, you betcha. I'm honored to be endorsed by the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, Coeur d'Alene Police Association, Lake City Employees Association, Balance of North Idaho, Boise
Councilman Ettinger,
Firefighters.
we're out of time. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. I'd appreciate your vote.
We will be right back for those that are watching live in just a minute with the second forum.
Yeah, absolutely.